Hello, you've caught me talking about the same 3 games yet again.
Rob, I really don't think you should...
Here are 7 games from last week's video, and the week before that, and the week before that.
Look, the comments aren't...
Is Skyrim the only game you've played? Also, bring back the Badger LMFAO. Look, I've played at least 12 games, Delsin Fan 146, and I am not ashamed to talk about them all repeatedly.
It's not like I feel bad about having favourite games, but I will concede that constantly talking about the one so dear to me could leave many other brilliant games without the representation they deserve in these videos.
And there really are some brilliant games out there you may not have even heard of.
And with the great power of being as brilliant and popular as I am, comes the great responsibility of informing, educating and entertaining all of you on those brilliant games. And I've got a certain number of them in mind.
So, here are 7 brilliant PS5 games that you should play that you probably haven't even heard of. You're Delsin Fan 146, aren't you?
The first game on our list is Absalom, and this is a bit of a confession because I didn't know anything about this until it was suddenly all everyone in the office could talk about. Absalom is a fantasy-styled roguelite beat-em-up where you side-scroll through the lands of Talam to fight the evil Sun King.
Basically, it's what would happen if Streets of Rage and Hades met one night at a party and fell in love, and one thing led to another, and they got married and they had a child, and that child then grew up to be a massive Lord of the Rings nerd.
And it's also really flippin' good. Like, it's already become some people's Game of the Year good, which shouldn't be surprising really when you consider it was developed by some of the team behind the excellent Streets of Rage 4, but to have it be so phenomenal, seemingly out of nowhere, is a lovely surprise.
Like an unexpected snow day when you're at school, which, funnily enough, would be the perfect time to play Absalom.
There's so much to love about this game. The world is a beautifully animated lore fest with a real sense that it existed long before you got there. The moment-to-moment gameplay loop is incredibly Moorish, with its tight melee combat and expansive elemental power systems helping you build an overall run and permanent progression that feels hard-fought and incredibly satisfying. Go and play it right now, basically.
And if you don't, I will know. And I won't be happy. I won't know. It's your choice. You do what you want.
The second great game you may have missed is I Am Your Beast, a lightning-fast FPS that came to PS5 back in May and is a must-play for anyone into games like Ghost Runner or Superhot. You play as Alphonse, a former Special Forces soldier living out retirement in the forest. Well, until retirement is rudely interrupted by your old boss and his squads of dispensable goons. What happens next is told in short cutscenes between stages, and while it's a well-crafted revenge tale, the story is merely the bread of this decadent video game sandwich. What really makes I Am Your Beast special is the filling, which is very much the gameplay itself.
This is the fastest, most violent hike you've ever been on.
Stages are typically over in under a minute and involve you sprinting, leaping and launching weapons at enemies across a level to get to the end in as little time and as much style as possible without taking a single hit. It might not be the first game to have you shoot a shotgun until it's empty and then throw it at an enemy, but it's certainly one of the most satisfying. And with the addition of the extra challenges like get a certain number of headshots or only use melee kills, you're compelled to run through each stage a dozen or so times to try out every route available.
Now, I'm no speedrunner, but if you're into that sort of thing, you will feel right at home here.
And because the main game is relatively short, you can easily slice, dice and detonate your way through it in a matter of days. Luckily, the PS5 version comes with all the additional content added since the game's initial PC release, so there's no shortage of extra challenge for those with the fastest of reflexes.
Which isn't me, but it could be you, and if it is you, then you should absolutely play I Am Your Beast.
Game you probably haven't heard of, number 3, is Herdling, an atmospheric adventure that lets you live out your wildest shepherding fantasies by escorting a herd of unusual creatures up a mountain, which in terms of vibes is the exact opposite of the last game on the list, but sometimes you just want to chill out with stunning views and ambient folk music.
Herdling is the best way to go outside without actually going outside.
Speaking of which, there's a real sense of the creatures having their own individual personalities and acting like animals are supposed to. You come across each of them in precarious situations, and after taking buckets off their head or luring them out from under a train with some food, you tame them and have them join your flock. But each one will wander and respond to your commands slightly differently, or have different animations when you give them chin scratches according to their own individual characteristics and personalities. It's a beautiful detail that helps make the experience, fantastical though it is, feel that little bit more real.
Now, usually, I'm a bit of a Scrooge when it comes to petting cute animals in video games, but I have to say, the petting in Herdling feels earned.
Herdling is a delightful game that, regardless of whether or not you have dreams of being an animal tour guide / bodyguard to giant magical goat things, deserves your attention. So this is me calling you, gathering you in a group and directing you towards a game that's sure to bring you joy, even if you don't like petting animals in video games.
Come on, hello, who's a good Callie? Oh, a little scratch under the chin. Yes, you like
What
that?
are you doing?
Nothing.
Game number 4 now, and I'm highlighting Shinobi Art of Vengeance as flying under the radar, which you might think is odd given it's a legacy sequel to an iconic arcade character whose last appearance on PlayStation was critically acclaimed, even if it was over 20 years ago. But this side-scrolling action platformer is both a spirited return to the series' roots and an invigoratingly fresh take on the genre.
It doesn't hurt that it's also flipping gorgeous.
I mean, just look at those glorious brushstrokes, or the way those colours pop out the frame. The artwork is all hand-drawn, which makes me feel particularly bad when my careless platforming sends the intricately rendered Joe Musashi hurtling to his death because I was too busy vibing to the impeccable soundtrack.
The Lantern Festival is an absolute bop, to be fair.
If, like me, you're far too easily distracted or just need to brush up on your ninjutsu skills, you can lower the difficulty to either apprentice or novice mode, or tinker with specific settings to create a custom difficulty that lets you enjoy this visually stunning revenge tale in a way that means you don't repeatedly kill a storied martial arts master.
Don't worry though, the default difficulty setting is not set to tear your hair out.
How would you even do that?
Shut up, Connor.
The 5th game you may not have heard of is To a T, a game from Keita Takahashi of Katamari Damacy fame. For those familiar with Takahashi's work, you may think the initial premise of the game, a teenager in a small coastal town trying to discover who they really are gains a new ability thanks to a mysterious object that fell from the sky, sounds like an unusually standard narrative adventure.
So, what's the twist?
Your character is trapped in a T-pose, with their arms extended permanently at their sides, which makes the already difficult teenage school journey much harder, not least because everyday tasks suddenly become a massive challenge. It's a surprisingly powerful message hidden beneath a zany exterior, reminding us that not everyone has the same experiences in life as we do. Thankfully, your trusty canine companion functions partially as an assistant to help you change, among other things.
Can you pet the dog?
It's a little
Can
strange
you pet the dog, though?
when you think about it.
Can you pet the dog? Can you pet the dog?
Yes! You can pet the dog.
Yay!
So yeah, To a T, a heartwarming coming-of-age story presented in a unique way that leaves an impression every time you boot it up.
Keita Takahashi, we salute you.
The penultimate game you probably haven't heard of is the critically acclaimed Promise Mascot Agency, developed by Kaizen Gameworks, whose team released the equally beloved Paradise Killer back in 2020. And if you've played either of these games, you'll know the general sentiment you'll have during your playtime is a sort of hand-wavy, dismissive, yeah, of course.
The critically acclaimed studio made a good game. Yeah, of course.
The game is self-described as, quote, the world's first and best open-world mascot management crime drama. Yeah, why not? An exiled Yakuza working with a mascot in the shape of a severed thumb tries to oust a corrupt mayor in a small coastal town. Makes sense. Said mascots are real flesh and blood that you have to hire in order to turn the bankrupt agency into a profitable business. Of course.
As you can tell, it's rather unorthodox.
And it's that singular approach that makes the game stand out in so many ways. Equal parts narrative adventure, card battle, and anime fever dream. This is a game you have to play to understand. Otherwise, it's pretty much impossible to describe without having to constantly say things like, yeah, I know, I need to pay protection money to the assassins threatening to kill my mother, but a block of tofu asked me to beat up this vending machine.
And that's genuinely not a joke.
The final game that definitely flew under your radar is a virtual representation of a game that definitely hasn't flown under your radar, pinball. More specifically, Xenotilt Hostile Pinball Action.
Hostile pinball action. It's a bit like tactical espionage action, isn't it? A 3-word subtitle that instantly boosts a game's cool factor.
The main differences between a regular pinball simulator and Xenotilt are as follows. Firstly, the majority of pinball tables don't look like the inside of a laser tag arena from the 90s. And secondly, while you still have to score the most points with 3 balls and well-timed flipper shots, normal pinball tables don't feature bullet hell boss fights.
I would imagine this is the kind of thing that is frowned upon by the pinball community.
Each of the 3 tiers inside the table contains a unique boss, along with other challenges to be completed as part of your quest to climb the leaderboard. The problem is, these bosses are constantly putting things in your way to prevent you doing all of that, either bullets or smaller enemies, and you have to get a feel for the rhythm of how best to get that perfect score. It's a bit like Balatro, both in that you'll constantly say to yourself, just one more round, until the chiptune soundtrack haunts your dreams, and that it couldn't be further removed from the thing that inspired it. But who cares? Xenotilt is a sensory overload of rapid-fire pinball action that we'd take over a fuddy-duddy real table any day.
In fact, I'm going to play a game right now.
Can I go now?
No.
And those were 7 brilliant PS5 games you probably haven't heard of. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to leave it a like and comment down below what underrated gem we missed from our lineup. And to make sure more videos like this and news about all things PlayStation don't go under your radar, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.